Level 1, the vanished. The knock does not wake you. You are already awake. You have been awake for 3 nights. Everyone knows what a vehicle stopping at 3 in the morning means. You hear the engine idling in the street below. You hear the heavy boots on the concrete stairs. There are exactly 3 sets of footsteps. They do not rush. They have absolutely no reason to rush. The entire country belongs to them. The knock is quiet, but it shatters the silence of your apartment like a physical blow. You sit up in the dark. Your wife does not move. She is pretending to be asleep. She is holding her breath so tightly that her shoulders are shaking. You do not touch her. Touching her makes it real. Touching her means saying goodbye. You stand up and walk to the door in your bare feet. You open it before they can knock a second time. 3 men in dark coats stand in the narrow hallway. They do not ask for your name. The tallest man simply points a gloved finger at your chest and then points down the stairs. You are not allowed to pack a bag. You step out of your home wearing only your sleep clothes. The freezing air hits you instantly. You do not shiver. You force your body to remain perfectly still. Showing weakness is the first mistake. Showing resistance is the last mistake you will ever make. They guide you down the stairs. The doors on every floor remain tightly shut. Your neighbors are awake. They are listening to your final footsteps. They are praying the secret police do not stop at their doors next. They push you into the back of a truck. It smells strongly of diesel fuel and stale sweat. They place a thick black bag over your head. The darkness is immediate and completely suffocating. Your hands are bound behind your back with coarse rope that presses deep into your wrists. The truck begins to move. You try to track the turns. You are trying to hold on to the geography of the city you have lived in your entire life. It is a useless exercise. You are being erased from the official record at this exact moment. If your children ask where you went, the teachers will tell them you never existed. The men do not speak a single word. Their silence is a weapon. It forces your mind to fill the void with pure terror. You think about the rumor of the political prison camps, the places hidden deep in the northern mountains where people go and never return. You convince yourself there has been a mistake. You have always been loyal. You clapped the loudest at every gathering. But the rope pressing into your flesh tells you the absolute truth. Innocence does not matter. The state requires enemies to justify its power. Today, you are the enemy. Level 2, the confession. The black bag is finally pulled from your head. The light in the room is blinding. It burns your eyes after hours in the dark. The room is entirely made of concrete. There are absolutely no windows. You cannot tell if it is day or night. Time has stopped existing in this place. A man sits across a small metal table. He is wearing a pristine military uniform. He does not look angry. He looks incredibly bored. That boredom terrifies you more than any physical threat ever could. To him, you are just another piece of paperwork. He places a single sheet of paper on the table. He places a pen next to it. He tells you to confess. You ask what you are confessing to. He does not answer. He simply rings a small bell. 2 guards enter the room. They do not use force directly. They force you to kneel on the cold concrete floor. They place a heavy wooden bar behind your knees. They force you to sit back on it. The pressure is completely indescribable. It feels like your joints are being pushed far beyond their limit. The guards leave the room. The man in the uniform begins to read a newspaper. He entirely ignores your cries. You kneel for 6 hours. The strain travels up your spine and locks your jaw. You beg him to tell you what you did. He turns a page of his newspaper. You kneel for 12 hours. You lose control of your bodily functions. The humiliation is absolute. You are no longer a proud citizen. You are a broken person on a dirty floor. You kneel for 18 hours. The pain eventually fades into a terrifying numbness. Your mind begins to fracture. You start to hallucinate the faces of your family in the gray wall. You realize the ultimate truth of this room. They do not want the truth. They want your complete psychological surrender. The man puts down his newspaper. He asks if you are ready to remember your crimes against the state. You say yes. You will agree to absolutely anything just to make it stop. You will confess to being a spy. You will confess to insulting the leadership. You drag your exhausted body to the table. Your hands are shaking so violently you can barely hold the pen. You sign your name at the bottom of the paper. You have just signed away your entire life. You have officially condemned yourself to the labor camps. The man smiles for the very first time. He tells you that you did the right thing. He tells you that you can finally sleep. Level 3. The number. The truck engine finally stops. The heavy iron gates scream as they are pulled open. The air outside smells intensely like wet earth and cold stone. You are pulled from the back of the truck by rough hands. The freezing mountain wind immediately bites through your thin sleep clothes. You stand in a disorganized line with 50 other terrified people. Nobody looks at each other. Looking at another person is dangerous. A guard with a rifle slowly walks down the line. He does not see human beings. He sees defective tools that need to be broken down and rebuilt. He sees property of the state. They march you into a large concrete building. They order you to strip. You slowly take off the clothes you wore in your past life. They pile them in a dark corner to be discarded. You stand completely still and shivering violently on the freezing stone floor. A man with dull clippers walks up behind you. He roughly shaves your entire head. The heavy clumps of dark hair fall around your bare feet. Your past identity is falling away right along with them. You are no longer a respected citizen. You are no longer a loving husband. You are a completely blank slate for the state to rewrite. They hand you a camp uniform. The thin fabric is coarse and heavily worn. It smells deeply of stale sweat and abandonment. It belonged to a man who did not survive the previous winter. You put it on without speaking a single word. The guard stops directly in front of you. He holds a small piece of dirty fabric with black digits painted on it. He pins it roughly onto your chest. He tells you to permanently forget the name your mother gave you. You are now prisoner 4029. If you do not respond to that exact number instantly, you will face serious consequences. Your name is gone forever. You are marched out into the massive camp yard. You see the other prisoners for the very first time. They do not look like living people anymore. They look like walking skeletons wrapped tightly in dirty rags. Their faces are sunken, and their eyes are completely hollow. They move with a slow and terrifying mechanical shuffle. They do not speak to each other. They do not even look up at the gray sky above them. You suddenly realize the absolute horror of your new reality. You are looking directly at your exact future. This place is perfectly designed to slowly consume your physical body and your soul. You are prisoner 4029. Level 4. The Laborer. The tunnel is completely black. You cannot see the ceiling above your head. You hold a heavy iron pickaxe. The wooden handle is slick with your own sweat and worn skin. Your hands blistered and tore open weeks ago. You do not stop swinging the tool. Stopping means the guard will use his wooden club. The club is used without hesitation, and broken bones mean a slow end. You swing the pickaxe into the solid rock. The coal dust coats the back of your throat. It fills your lungs with every desperate breath. You cough dark residue into the dirt. You wipe your mouth with a trembling hand. You work a 14-hour shift. You do not have a watch. You measure time by the agonizing cramps in your empty stomach. The currency of this camp is calories. Your daily ration is a small handful of boiled corn. It is never enough to sustain a human body. Your body begins to consume its own muscle tissue. You feel your arms growing weaker every single day. The hunger is a living creature inside your brain. It whispers to you constantly. It tells you to take from others. It tells you to abandon your morals. Morality is a useless luxury here. A man next to you suddenly collapses. He drops his pickaxe with a loud clatter. He falls face first into the coal. He does not move. You do not rush to help him. Empathy is a dangerous emotion. The guards walk over to the fallen man. They do not check on him. They remove him from the tunnel. You do not look at his face. Looking is something you have learned not to do. Remembering him costs you something you cannot afford. You step over the empty space where he was standing. You raise your heavy pickaxe and swing it into the wall. You push the heavy iron cart filled with black rock. The wheels scream against the rusty tracks. Your legs shake violently under the massive weight. You realize the entire mountain is a giant tomb. It is slowly consuming all of you. You do not pray for rescue anymore. Rescue is a childish fantasy. You only pray for an extra portion of corn at the end of the shift. You survive another brutal day in the dark. You are becoming a machine made of brittle bone and sheer will. You swing the pickaxe again. That is the correct answer. Level 5. The Scavenger. You are no longer a human being in the way you once understood the term. The hunger is a physical entity living inside your hollow stomach. It controls every single thought in your head. It dictates every microscopic movement of your body. Morality is a ridiculous concept from a past life. You do not remember what it feels like to be full. You only remember the sharp pain of being entirely empty. You crouch in the freezing mud behind the barracks. You watch a small gray rat sniffing the dirt. You do not feel disgust. You only feel a desperate burning need. You strike with the speed of a starving animal. You catch the rat in your bare hands. You end it without hesitation. You eat the meat in the dark. You feel absolutely no shame. You feel only a temporary break from the agonizing hunger. You wipe your mouth with a trembling hand. The winter wind slices through the gaps in the walls. The temperature drops well below zero every night. You sleep pressed tightly against 40 other starving men just to share body heat. You wake up in the middle of the dark night. The man sleeping directly next to you is completely cold. He is not breathing. You do not call out for the guards. You do not say a prayer for his soul. Empathy does not exist in this freezing place. You look down at his feet. He has a small piece of torn blanket wrapped around his left shoe. You need that cloth to save your own toes. You reach out in the dark and slowly untie the dirty fabric. You wrap it tightly around your foot. You do not feel guilty. The man beside you does not need warmth anymore. You need it to survive another day. The guards walk through the barracks at dawn. They take the still body out into the snow. You do not look at them. You keep your eyes fixed firmly on the floor. You are learning the absolute rules of the scavenger. You take whatever you need from those who are gone because the living will take it from you first. You chew on bitter tree bark to quiet your screaming stomach. You swallow small insects you find under rocks. You are devolving into a creature of pure survival. The state wants to reduce you to an animal. You have finally accepted their terrible gift. You are the scavenger. That is the correct answer. Level 6. The Informant. The guard stops by your bunk in the dimly lit barracks. He is holding a small, dented metal bowl. The bowl contains extra soup. This soup is not just dirty water and boiled corn. This soup has actual pieces of meat floating in the thick grease. The smell hits your face like a physical blow. Your mouth floods with saliva. The physical reaction is immediate and entirely involuntary. Your stomach cramps violently at the sudden scent of real protein. You stare at the bowl. You cannot look away. The guard smiles a cold and calculating smile. He asks you a very simple question. He wants to know who is hiding stolen grain in the third section. You know the exact answer. You know the old man sleeping 3 beds away found a small handful of raw rice near the storage shed yesterday. You know he is desperately saving it to feed his sick younger brother. You know the brother is coughing badly and will not survive much longer without those extra calories. You look at the guard. You look at the oily soup. The hunger screams inside your fragile skull. It drowns out every single memory of your past life. It drowns out the gentle lessons your parents taught you about basic human loyalty and honor. Honor does not fill an empty stomach in the freezing dark. Morality is a heavy burden you can no longer afford to carry. You open your cracked lips. You speak the name of the old man who found the raw rice. You point a dirty finger directly at his bunk. The guard nods slowly and hands you the metal bowl. The metal is wonderfully warm against your freezing skin. You drink the soup greedily. You chew the tough meat. You do not taste the weight of what you have done. You only taste the salt and the fat. You swallow it all in seconds. You lick the bowl completely clean. The guards come for the old man in the middle of the quiet night. They do not let him put on his shoes. They take him out into the cold. You hear him calling out for his brother. You hear sounds from the dark outside. You pull your thin, torn blanket over your head. You close your eyes. You try to sleep. The sounds eventually stop. The camp is perfectly quiet again. You wake up the next morning feeling physically stronger. The extra calories are already working. You look at the empty bunk. You feel absolutely nothing. You have successfully traded another person's safety for a single bowl of soup. The camp has finally broken your spirit completely. You belong entirely to the state now. Level 7. The Total Control Zone. You are loaded onto a rusted metal train in the middle of the night. The train travels for 3 entire days. You are packed so tightly into the dark boxcar that you cannot even sit down. People do not survive the journey standing around you. You finally arrive at the absolute edge of the world. This is the total control zone. There is absolutely no release date here. Nobody has ever left this valley. You will never see the outside world again. The guards do not even carry rifles to stop escapes. There is absolutely nowhere to run. The jagged stone peaks surround the frozen valley like a massive natural coffin. The brutal winter weather is the ultimate warden. The temperature drops so violently low that large trees crack and split in the dark. Your new assignment is logging. You walk for miles in the deep snow wearing thin shoes full of holes. You use a rusted 2-man crosscut saw to bring down massive pine trees. The agonizing physical work requires massive amounts of calories. You are given even less food than before. Men simply stop moving while standing in the forest. You watch a younger man fall face forward into a deep snowbank. He does not cry out for his mother. He does not even try to get back up. The brutal cold simply takes him. You do not stop sawing the massive tree. You know the daily timber quota must be met. Failing the state quota means losing your tiny ration of boiled corn. You cannot afford to lose a single precious kernel. The guards order you to move the massive logs. You strap coarse ropes across your shoulders. You pull the dead weight through the waist-deep snow like a workhorse. You take the fallen man's boots when the guards look away. You take his thin outer jacket. You peel the stiff frozen fabric from his body. You do not look directly at his frozen open eyes. You pull the extra layers over your own rotting clothes. You feel a tiny fraction of saved warmth. You realize the camp has finally stripped away the very last remaining piece of your human soul. You are no longer a proud father or a loving husband. You are a biological machine designed to cut wood until it completely breaks down. The state owns your tired muscles. The state owns your frozen lungs. The state owns the exact date of your lonely end. Level 8. The Ghost. You do not know your own age anymore. You do not know what year it is outside the mountains. Time is a meaningless concept in the total control zone. The pale sun rises and the cold sun sets. That is your only calendar. You are an empty shell moving through the deep snow. The state has burned away every single memory you ever had. You try to remember the sound of your daughter laughing, but the audio is gone. You try to picture the face of your wife, but you see a blank gray wall. You do not even remember the crime you confessed to all those years ago in the concrete room. You only know that you are a criminal. You only know that you deserve to be exactly where you are. The mental indoctrination is absolutely complete. Your physical body is a terrifying collection of sharp angles and loose skin. You weigh less than half of what you weighed on the night they took you. Your teeth have slowly deteriorated from the severe malnutrition. You cannot even chew the hard-boiled corn. You simply swallow the kernels whole and pray your ruined stomach can digest them. You do not speak to the other shadows working beside you in the freezing forest. Speaking expends precious calories you cannot afford to lose. Speaking also draws the attention of the guards. You only open your mouth to cough into the white snow. You do not feel fear when you see what comes up. You feel a strange sense of profound relief. It means the end is finally approaching. You lie down on the freezing wooden boards of the crowded dark barracks. The bitter winter wind screams through the large cracks in the thin walls. The skeletal man next to you is shaking uncontrollably in his sleep. You do not reach out to comfort him. Comfort is an alien concept from a dead universe. You stare blindly up at the dark ceiling. You finally realize that you are already gone. You were erased on the exact night they put the heavy black bag over your head. Your physical body just took a decade to finally catch up with your entirely broken soul. You close your sunken eyes for the very last time.